Hi everyone, I have something to read to you. What is social impact investing? More and more people are talking about social impact investing and the role that it has to play in the successful implementation of Agenda 2030. And I have to be honest that whenever I hear the word investing or any other financial term, I feel very inept, painfully embarrassed by my lack of knowledge and comprehension, and ideally hope that no one will ask me a question to which I patently don't know the answer. I was inspired, however, by listening to Alison McDowell's talk on the fourth industrial revolution to do my own little bit of research into the issue. And I'm here to reassure anyone that may be similarly intimidated that social impact investing is not an issue beyond anyone's ken, far less yours. It's fairly obvious from the name that social impact investing is about people or corporations putting money into businesses, charities, and not-for-profit organizations that seek to do good work for various communities, groups, or demographics of either people and or the environment. And it doesn't take a genius to extrapolate that the potential flaw in this apparently philanthropic sector of the investment market is that this means that whoever has the money, in most cases non-elected wealth hoarders, gets to disproportionately influence the evolution of society. To oversimplify in the extreme, I would like to use an analogy that I always think is really helpful when thinking about money. Imagine that there's a group of monkeys in a forest full of banana trees, and one monkey keeps taking all the bananas and hoarding them for himself, while watching or turning his back on the other monkeys as they starve. If you were studying that group of monkeys, your interest would likely lie in finding out what was wrong with the hoarder. Now, imagine that the biggest hoarder got wind of this research and didn't like the bad PR. So he decided to give the other monkeys just enough bananas to survive, as long as they spent all day behaving in ways which increased his yield, as well as harvesting and delivering the bananas to his branch. The researchers weren't stupid, though, and most annoyingly, they persisted in thinking that something was wrong with him. So, thinking to be a little more subtle and cunning, he decided, in a show of great benevolence, to give lactating mothers one extra banana per day. Up to this point, lactating mothers had been allowed to stay with their babies for the period of time while the baby needed breast milk. However, to get this banana, the mother needed to agree to go back to harvesting in between 3 set hourly feeds, while a middle monkey looked after a big group of infant chimps. And in this way, the bond between the mother and the baby was impaired, and the baby's instinctive ability to gauge and sate its own hunger was disrupted. The intentional outcome of this, from the hoarder's perspective, was not just that it was easier to control the younger chimps as they grew up, and the mother chimps who would do anything for a few extra hours with their infants, but when the baby chimps grew up, they tended to be heavier than average, overeating because as a baby they were programmed to get as much in any one sitting as they could, knowing that the next feed wouldn't be for a long while. And so they were no longer able to regulate their hunger. Driven by an overwhelming addiction to bananas, the hoarder had planned all along to turn this to his advantage. Now that he didn't have to spend all day harvesting bananas and the other monkeys had accepted the status quo, he made a point of shouting from the treetops every day that being overweight was disgusting and undesirable, meanwhile inventing a monkey treadmill. And so, by dint of scrimping and saving the few bananas that they could earn, the overweight monkeys were now in a position to give the hoarder back his bananas as payment for solving a problem that he had created. Now, I realize there are flaws in my metaphor. How can monkeys on limited rations overeat? And assuming that they could, is it likely that having spent all day harvesting bananas, they would be overweight? However, I hope that despite my unconventional financial jargon, I have managed to convey the central point. So, leaving the monkey analogy in the past, where it belongs, I have decided to look to the future. And rather excitingly, I think you'll agree, London is hosting an impact investing forum in December of this year. You can visit their website, the home of which displays an exciting countdown of the days until this delightful opportunity for the elite to reconvene, no doubt arriving at their destination on foot or by train, and generously, I think you will agree, decide upon how they are going to help us out of the financial crisis into which they have plunged us. The first thing I did was to look at the agenda, and while I don't have time in this little presentation to rip a hole right through everyone, I will do my best with the most immediately offensive. In second position, we have Phyllis Kurlander Costantaza, saying it wrong, sorry, Head of Social Impact and CEO at UBS Optimus Foundation, who is giving a talk at 1:45 p.m. on impactful philanthropy, delivering breakthrough solutions for social and environmental issues. To put it simply, UBS Optimus is a company which makes their money out of taking money from corporations that want to invest in pretending to make the world a better place, thereby reducing the amount of money that each corporation has to give and ensuring that what remains goes into stock which best benefits their main shareholders. And just before we move on to the gentleman in pole position to win this delightful competition for losers, did I mention that on the 29th of June, 2022, BlackRock Inc. New York disclosed under the Swiss Stock Exchange Act a holding of 5.23% of the total share capital of UBS Group. And if you happen to still be conscious by 3:15, you can meet the lovely Simon Backlund, Senior Associate at Sustain Analytics, who is giving a talk about quantifying social impact, which, yes, you guessed it, is quarter monkey code for data harvesting, which enables human impact investing, which we can get onto the next time. But, spoiler alert, if you think it might be about commodifying humans, then you can rest easy in your bed that yes, it is indeed about making you yourself into an asset, you know, like back in the good old days when people had slaves. Anyway, Sustain Analytics, who refer to themselves as providing high quality analytical, environmental, social and governance research, ratings and data to institutional investors and companies, are owned by Morningstar, an organization who uses data to rate investment opportunities. And Morningstar were kind enough to give many of Vanguard's funds a 5-star rating, the highest possible rating from the Morningstar rating system. So I think we can assume that they are happily and well acquainted. Before I go, I must apologize to Alison McDowell, who will be swiveling in her chair to think that her eloquent and detailed analysis of the Fourth Industrial Revolution led to a banana-related analogy. However, perhaps I can redeem myself by highly recommending that you listen to her talk, the link for which I will put in the description. So I hope I have clarified social impact investing as the means by which, having hoarded all of the resources, thereby causing problems derived from the breakdown in the natural order of the community, the biological bonds between families, and people's intuitive understanding of themselves, against a media backdrop which relentlessly misconstrues the outcomes of all these problems as being personal failings. These philanthropists can give money back to society in a way that affords them a disproportionate and unrepresentative say in how societies evolve, while they harvest and sell your data and lay the foundations for even more ways to make you miserable, so that your greatest desire is to escape into the false reality of the metaverse and numb yourself from the pain of being alive in the actual hell of the reality that they have created for you. Thank you for listening. I love you all.